Welcome to For the Love of Books, Bees Books Edition, a podcast by North Lanarkshire Libraries.
Hi, this is Pari.
And this is Jenny, and we're here to talk about
Bees Books.
the first one of 2024.
Indeed, yes. So, the theme is very apt for this first of 2024. Oh, I don't like saying 2024,
No.
I don't think. No. Well, but she's forcing us to confront this discomfort. It's called New Year, New You. Question mark? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. So, this was quite a... I don't know, this sort of the pressure on New Year, New You is quite stressful to me, I think. Just because it feels like all of it, January, which is, as you know, and maybe other people may also like feel similarly, the worst month in the year. As you know that I feel, I know you don't agree. But it's just because there's nothing to look forward to. It's dark, the weather's rubbish, and then you're supposed to like do all these new things.
Absolutely.
So last year, what I'd read, I think somebody, I don't know who said, but they'd said that they like looking at it more on a month-to-month basis. So even if January sort of, they tried to do something new and they couldn't, they're like, that's fine. It was January. February is a new chance to start over, or March is a new chance. So there's not so much pressure on 1 month for the rest of the year, like controlling how you're going to be for the rest of the year. Because I think for a lot of people, like if you give up, you're just like, okay, that's it now.
Yes.
Like let's try 2025 or something, you know.
Yes.
So yes, it is quite a lot of pressure, which is why I was, mentioned the question mark, which I don't know if be meant to include, but I'm like,
You are including
yes,
it.
I am including. I've thrown it, I've thrust it into the picture. But anyway, I'd love to hear your New Year, New You, full stop books.
So I've got 2 books.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to tell you what the second book is yet.
Oh, it's a mystery.
But I'll tell you what the first book is.
Okay.
And basically, I don't do New Year's resolutions because basically, as you say, you get to the middle of January, you've eaten all the cookies that can possibly be eaten ever, and you think, nope, that's it.
No.
You don't stick to them. You don't stick to them. However, this year, I have decided that my resolution is going to be to take the book from the bottom of my to-read stack.
Right.
You'll be the same as me. You have a to-read stack, and the one at the bottom stays at the bottom for a lot longer than any other book stays in that pile, because a new book comes in, you go, oh no, I need to read that now. So the bottom of my pile was The Second Sight of Zachary Cloudesley by Sean Lusk. It has a lovely cover.
Gorgeous cover, also a very familiar cover. Have you told me about this
Yes,
book
I think
before?
I've spoken about it before, probably when I took it and put it at the bottom of my pile. So I thought, no, I'm going to the bottom of my pile. I'm not going to be tempted with any of the shiny new books at the top of that pile. And I read this.
Was it worth it?
I don't know.
Oh, so see, this is you. I'm throwing the question mark back in here. Should you be making New Year's resolutions? I don't know.
It's one of those books that I finished.
Oh,
And
that sounds like that was the highlight.
Yes.
You finished it.
and I put it down, and I don't know how I feel about it.
I see.
I'm hoping talking to you
Yeah.
will make me realise what I think about it. But before I babble on, what have you chosen?
So I have gone in I guess in a similar directions. It's more like, it's not like I want to lose weight or I don't care about all these things, but it is things that I want to do things that add more joy to my life, because I feel like it's been a very depressing year, just politically, globally, personally. Like everyone's a little bit depressed now, aren't they? So it's been such a difficult year, and it's really hard, especially in the winter months in this country, or I guess in other countries, when the motivation is really low. You're just sort of like being more like a huddle into a ball of depression, basically, which is fine. Like you do you. I might do that alongside this. But one of my books, one of my resolutions is that I wanna explore new places, and like I don't want to, I guess, travel too far, both for like money reasons, but also like I don't know what next year is gonna look like for me. But this book's called Secret Glasgow, and it's okay, there is no name. No, there is a name. Stephen Miller and Gillian Loney. Loni, I should have practiced this before. Sorry, Gillian. But it's basically just like, it's just sort of a guidebook of sorts. So inside and it's all color, and it's just short entries of these lesser known cool places all over Glasgow and near Glasgow. So that's where I live, and it's a way to encourage me to step out of my usual pathways and comfort zones and explore the city that I live in and call home, and just look at it in a new perspective. So there's this one of my traditions. So harking back to our previous episode, one of my annual traditions is this Glasgow Doors Open Day that happens every September. I love signing up for walks there, or like for talks, panel events and things, because it always makes me teaches me something new about either the city or the country, or just a new way of looking at things. And that's what I'm hoping this book will do, which is just show me a different part of the city that I've lived in for a few years now. So that's my first book.
Oh, and has anything jumped out at you yet?
So I must admit, I started reading this. This was supposed to be my resolution for last year. So I started reading it, and as you can see, I've used a train ticket as a bookmark. So I haven't gotten, I've gotten far. Yes. So I had my initial idea when I was reading it is like, I'm going to go and like make a note of the things from the table of contents. But this was months ago. I've been hoarding this book for months. Sorry, whoever has been looking for this book. If you have, I'll return it if you request it. But I'm going to have to go back and read it. But a lot of things jumped out at me. I don't remember the specifics because it was so long ago, but it was sort of framed so well. So it's like different parts of the city, so west, north, south, east, and different kinds of things. So some are architectural, some are like parks, some are secret libraries, and like it's just like all these different, like I think there'll be something to make anybody happy. Obviously you don't have to go through all of these unless you want to. Maybe that can be your quest for 2024. Go to every single place.
I quite like the idea you're going to have a train ticket sticking out of every bit because you take the
You've
train
taken.
to go
Oh,
each
I
bit,
love that. They also have, like, I know Stephen Miller. I recognize his name. He has there's a online platform called Meetup, which I'm a part of, but I've not done a lot of things. But basically, you can sign up to his walk. So he does like local history walks throughout the year in Glasgow and Edinburgh, and just like I think he's researching maybe for articles and books and things, and just talks to you about the history of the places that he walks you through. So I want to do that more. I want to join up walks. I want to do it by myself because I love exploring the city on foot.
Glasgow is huge, it's massive, and I've lived near Glasgow for a long time, but it's one of those things that you only go to, like the museums maybe when somebody comes to visit and you take them.
Exactly.
The touristy things you don't really do in your own home turf.
No. And there's very specific touristy things as well. Like you go to the Kelvin Grove, you'll go to like Glasgow Cathedral, which I think this is more like the less, like trying to highlight the lesser known ones. Yeah, and that's interesting because, sometimes these visitors that come, don't want to go and see a big fancy museum. They want to see something a wee bit unusual, so that's quite nice. And something that you could fall in love with as well as like a nearby local. And it's a nice thing to do, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's quite a nice New Year thing. Hopefully this time it'll stick. Yes. In 2023 it did not. But yes, so tell me about your, you finished a book. Yes, I finished it. It's a story about a man who's kind of a watchmaker, a clockmaker, but it's not just clocks they make. So he makes lots of like kind of mechanical things, and he has a son, but his wife dies when she gives birth to the son. And the first part of it is kind of how he copes with that. It's set like in 1754, so it's not so he's kind of like, how does he cope, with just his son and things like that. And he's a bit eccentric. And then there's a horrible accident, and his son loses an eye. Yes. So he thinks that he's not doing a very good job. So he sends him away to live with this is quite complicated. I think it's the wife's aunt, who is very eccentric. Yes, she has like lots of weird, wonderful ideas. She's
likes looking at the stars, and she has parrots and things roaming around the house.
She sounds
and
fantastic.
yes, she's very cool.
Uh-huh.
But she does have a tendency, because she doesn't have children of her own, of kind of trying to adopt other people's children. So she's really happy that Zachary gets sent there, and kind of tries to recruit him sort of a way to make him more her son. Meanwhile, the dad gets sent away to somewhere else, Constantinople, to make clocks. But
As one does.
yes, secretly, he is supposed to be a spy for the British government. But he's not really spy material, and so he's to make this mechanical machine to get into the palace to find out secrets, basically. And it kind of goes pear-shaped. And he gets kidnapped, basically.
As one does.
Yes. Everybody's told he's dead, but he has to make like mechanical soldiers and things for the palace, which he does, but he always puts in a flaw because he doesn't want to do that, if you know what I mean.
So he is a spy.
Yes, in a way.
Or I guess saboteur.
Yes. But he goes a little bit crazy. And he loses.
As one does.
Yes. that sums up this book. Basically he loses his hearing as well, because he's in the workshop all the time, and like there's all these noises. He's not sure who he can trust. And then his son. So his son does kind of have, not second sight as such, but kind of does have, I want to go mystical powers, but he doesn't really have mystical powers. He just has kind of better intuition, say, than other people. So he kind of works out that dad's alive and goes to try and rescue him and all that kind of stuff. There are some excellent things in it. The whole mechanical things that the dad makes, Abel makes. He makes like a wee kind of girl writing a letter, and his assistant works it so that she can actually write things to do with what people are saying. So there's kind of like, it's too early for computing as such, but there's stuff in the background. The clockwork mechanism kind of does, and you know that did happen like in Victorian times.
It sounds a bit steampunky as well, a little bit.
And that's what I wanted.
But it's not. No.
There's lots of other things in it. There's lots of good stuff in it, but the story itself just kind of meandered along.
And I suppose if you're going in with the expectations of a particular genre, and even if it's a good book, but if it doesn't meet that expectation, you see it not in the most positive of lights.
As I say, there were some really good bits in it. So there's like his assistant Tom was born a lady, had some very bad trouble with men, and has become Tom. And when he gets to Constantinople, lives very happily. You know, it's really accepted. Nobody kind of notices. The mad aunt kind of knows, but Abel himself didn't notice for a long time. But that was quite an interesting wee kind of side story as well. And yeah.
So what do you think the main story itself was a distraction to all the other things
I felt
that was
as if
happening?
I wanted more action,
and
there wasn't much action in it.
Yeah.
Like when Zachary goes and rescues his dad, it kind of doesn't really.
So it's a gentle kind of book.
I can see why people would like it.
Yeah, and it is also like at the cover sometimes.
Yes.
You know, like a few episodes ago, should you judge a book by its cover?
Yes.
I would judge a book by this book by its cover, but maybe I shouldn't.
There's, as I say, lots in it, and talking about it, you know, the spying stuff and you know, all that kind of stuff is interesting, but there wasn't enough of any of that.
I think it would be a great book for people who are not into the actiony bits.
Yes,
you know, like I love, so this is a different kind of a bit of a digression, but I love playing video games. But I mean, I don't love, like I play some video games, but I love the video games where there's not like conflict and things. I hate, like when I was a teenager, I used to play this game called Age of Empires, which is essentially like different civilizations, I guess, like forming civilizations, and I used to grow so emotionally attached to my little pixel villagers that whenever another neighboring kingdom would come and wage war on me needlessly and kill my citizens, I would be so upset. I'm just leave me in peace and let me do a cultural renaissance. So I I'm not, and even when I play video games now, like modern ones, my partner loves video games, lots of actiony things. I like different kinds of narratives in my video games, and I think like in books as well. Like some people prefer like a lot of action and things, and there's lots of books for them. I guess this is like with hints of action, but that's not the point of the story.
Yeah. It meanders. I think that's what I can say about it. It meanders. In my head, I have made up lots of stories about all the side characters and all that kind of stuff, so
nice.
that's fine.
So there's potential. Maybe there's a thriving fan fiction community for it. Well, I'm really excited to hear about your secret book. I have a secret book that's not as exciting. So should I tell you mine
Yes, tell
first?
me about your secret book.
So mine's again like a very... again, this was a leftover from 2023's resolution. So another thing that brings me a lot of joy is food. I love trying new food. I like cooking food as well. I love trying new experiments with food, and I just like trying things that I haven't eaten before. But what I end up doing is I end up falling in quite a cooking rut. Making the same kind of things over and over again. And Jack, like my partner as well, like we both, like sometimes we'll try new things, like if there's something in the supermarket that we haven't, like, a ready meal or something. But usually we just end up making the same things because, life.
Yes.
Life.
Yes.
But something that I wanted to do in 2023 that I didn't end up doing, and hopefully 2024 is my year, is try new recipes from books. So the book that I have now is called One Pot Pan Planet by Anna Jones, and it's quite a hefty book, and I actually did borrow it last year. And it's essentially, so the tagline of this is a greener way to cook for you, your family and the planet. So she's not making a big deal about this, just a little small bit of a deal. It's like sort of a contribution to addressing the climate crisis. So the kinds of foods that are more locally available, more sustainable, trying to eat less meat because it's better for the planet. But it's not what you shouldn't be doing, which is, I think, more negative. It's like, look at all the joy, the things that you should be doing can bring. Like, she writes so beautifully about like the joy of vegetables and things, which like someone like my partner for sure wouldn't get on board with. He eats some vegetables when I sneak them into meals, and he uses some vegetables as well. But I have sort of, this book and a couple of others have made me see that actually, yes, I love vegetables too. So it's not like something you're eating to be healthy or whatever for the planet. It's like, the textures, the combinations with other flavors, it's all so good. So she writes that with a lot of love. It's also a bit like the book that I talked about in the last episode, a little bit of her memoir in it as well. So she writes about because she says that, writing a book like this, I needed to put myself in there, because why would people trust me or care when I don't put myself there? Because usually sort of cookbooks are pretty impersonal, although I think that's changing a bit in terms of the genre. So it's full of recipes. My phone gallery is full of the recipes that I had taken, pictures of recipes that I'd taken that I want to try. But I think there's a little bit of something for everyone. So things like, I like spicy stuff, but then there's like hearty soups and stuff. I know some people love soups, burgers, just noodles, rice, like different kinds of things. And also things like this. So the page that I just randomly opened is 10 simple tomato ideas. So 10 different kinds of things you can do with tomato as a base. So it's things like that. So it's a mixture of different kinds of things. And I feel really accessible to somebody who, both in terms of cooking, but also maybe who wants to think more about the kinds of things they're eating and the effect it has on the world around them. And she writes it in a very friendly and welcoming way, rather than like, oh my god, you're killing the planet, please kill yourself. I guess I don't think anybody does that, but yeah, she just writes it with a lot of joy and love rather than fear and hate. So I wanna, like, I have the pictures, but I think my new strategy will be, because once they're in my phone, they're lost to me forever. They exist somewhere. I want to take this book out, and we have a fantastic, I think, range of cookbooks, which buying them, I don't think makes a lot of sense. I think borrowing them would be great, and just borrow a book like maybe a week, maybe start off slow, maybe every fortnight, a month, and just try a new recipe every fortnight, every month, every week maybe.
I think this time of year as well, when it is kind of dark and January can be quite, as we said, depressing.
Yeah.
Trying something new in the kitchen is quite a nice idea.
Absolutely.
Because you're stuck in the house basically.
Yeah.
And you know, there are a lot of lovely ingredients out there that maybe when you're shopping you kind of ignore.
And you're intimidated by because you don't know what to do with them.
Do I peel it? Do I chop it? You know, what do I do?
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to have something basically saying this is what you could do with a tomato.
Yeah.
Buy lots of tomatoes and you could do all this.
Well, I'm going to start actually with something that didn't even come from a book. It came from a conversation with a co-worker who was talking about this really nice dish that her son had made for himself and not made any for her, so she was grumbling about it a bit. But it sounded amazing, so she sent me the recipe and I have the ingredients now. It's like a baked feta spaghetti thing with like honey and chili. It just sounded like using ingredients in ways I would never have thought to use. And I must admit I'm a bit scared of feta. I've never used it before. I've eaten it, loved it, but I'm like, what do you?
Yes.
I'm just like a basic cheddar girl. You know, so I'm very excited. I have things. So tonight I'm gonna go home and try a baked spaghetti honey chili feta thing.
I'm interested to see how that's going to turn out.
Hopefully that I mean,
it
even
does
if
sound delicious.
Even if it's bad, you know, I think the trying and the sort of experimenting, that's what I want to bring into me in the new year. Not necessarily like for like, yes, okay, helping the planet, but I'm not even thinking about it for that. It's like food is really important to me and I want to make it more a part of my life and bring joy into it, you know, like play around with it a bit and not just get stuck in a rut.
No, I basically add cheese to everything.
I mean, I like that. I fully recommend, yes.
And whatever herb falls out the cupboard when I open it up.
Yeah.
Because, you know, so sometimes it is quite nice to try something.
And no pressure, just for yourself. Because I think like a lot of new recipes, especially during the festive season, or you know, when you're meeting up for families, you'll try new things. But I quite like the idea of making a meal and occasion just for yourself, like just making something fancy for you.
Also, there's so many different ways to cook things now, you know, with air fryers and slow cookers and all these kind of stuff. You know, I used to kind of cook everything in a wok. I have tried chicken nuggets in a wok.
I've heard it's lore, it's legend and lore in Coatbridge Library.
You know, but I have branched out to actually using a proper oven and things like that. You know, but there's so much more, and more food now is giving you on the packet. A way to cook it. So I seen recently I bought something and suddenly it tells you how to do it in the air fryer as well as oven.
That's right.
You know, there's
and gyozas as well, like frozen dumplings. You can do it steamed, you can do it pan fried, you can do it air fried. And
you don't always have to cook everything from scratch to make it nice.
Or to like you're saying, like adding other ingredients to it,
cheese.
Like herbs, cheese. Like I have, like, this is not to everyone's taste, but I have this fantastic bottle of chili oil that I add to a lot of Asian stuff, and it makes my life worth living, Jenny.
Sweet chili sauce, I must admit, I do use quite a lot of that.
Yeah, so everyone I think has their favourite, but this is, I think, an opportunity for me to find new favourites.
Yes, exactly.
So now, about your next mystery book that's hiding.
So you're going to like this. So, as you know, I've been going to the bottom of the pile, the bottom of the to read pile, and this snuck to the bottom and has been at the bottom for quite some time. I kind of lied about the second site. He was the second bottom.
Oh, no. But you were a great resolution person. You did too.
Yeah. So I've taken A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, which Pari has been telling me forever to read.
And you hated it the first time you tried.
I did. A couple of years ago I tried it. I got to page
the delight
something.
On my face.
Yes.
Well, maybe it'll turn to glue.
So I thought, no, this is my resolution. It's at the bottom of my pile. If I don't read it now, I'm not going to read it because
life is too short.
Yes. And I got to the bit that I stopped at last time, and I channeled you, and I said, right. And I think because you had told me a bit more about it in the last couple of episodes ago about the school itself and things like that, I thought, no.
Okay.
I loved it, Pari. Absolutely loved it. So thank you. I just zipped through the rest of it. I absolutely loved it. I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't have. I think that's the joy of listening to podcasts and talking to other people about books, is that sometimes they'll mention something that will change your mind.
And will make you look at it from a different perspective.
Yes. So when you were talking about the school kind of saying to her, we want you to be a baddie, and given the her spells that she tries not to use, or she works out a way to take something from that spell to make it good.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I'm so delighted because it's honestly, Jenny, it's one of my top ever. But last year was the year when I read Tamsin Muir's thing, and this one, and both of those series were in my ultimate
Absolutely.
top.
I think as well, if I hadn't read Tamsin's, because we know her now, Tamsin's books, I still maybe wouldn't have enjoyed this. But because of those books, you could just go, I have no idea what's happening,
absolutely.
but I love it. Because
I think your complaints are A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik is the first in the trilogy, but you felt like it started off in the middle.
Yes.
You weren't equipped with the current, you're not entering the school maybe in Hogwarts with Harry where everything is new to him.
Exactly.
You're entering with Galadriel, who is who's been there for the last how many years and knows everything, and it can get confusing, but if you're open to that, it's
and plus when we were talking about heroes and villains, and we were talking about how, for example, Harry Potter would have been a completely different book if he didn't have the friends that he has.
Yes,
I liked, and you didn't get that in the bit that I read to begin with. You met Orion saving everybody, but you didn't really meet anybody else. As soon as I met the friends that they become, it was right, okay,
Jenny,
I'm in this.
I'm so excited for you to read book 2 and 3 because it only gets better.
However, Pari, it's completely destroyed my resolution, because book 2 and book 3 are at the top of my to-read pile, and I am just about to start book 2.
I think it's a reward for you following your resolution. That one was, I finished it. Another is oh my god, it's opened a whole new world. I think this is, I think you can say this resolution was a success. You don't have to make any resolutions for 2024.
I read 2 books, and that's my resolution done.
That's great.
Yes.
Mine, I'm going to try to restart my resolution from 2023 and wish me luck.
Good luck.
Yes. Well, I think that's been a superb round of stellar recommendations for Bee there, and hopefully she's happy. So I don't know what the next episode is because I like being surprised by the themes. I know you have Bee's year or Bee has your year, whatever way. Some years are exchanged.
Ew.
Not tongues, not tongues this time.
No.
Just your exchange, normal your exchange. What is going to be our next theme?
So our next one is Enthusiasm Will Take You Far.
Oh.
It leaves it wide open.
It does.
Wide open. Because we are both very enthusiastic about books.
We are, yes.
So that kind of covers
That's
it a lot.
true. But because of this episode and last episode, I think in both I've sort of jarred in question marks everywhere that, at the end. Even this, enthusiasm will take you far. Oh, will it? Or will it take you too far?
Too far.
Yeah. Yes. What if you are enthusiastic about exploring a haunted cave and then you get possessed by a ghost?
Okay.
Could
that
happen.
came out of nowhere.
Could happen. Not that I obsess over this in the winter or anything. Ghosts. But yes, we'll find out if I've been possessed by a ghost next time.
Hopefully
Yes.
not.
Maybe it's a friendly ghost.
That's fine. Okay.
We'll see. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.